Welcome to part 2 of the TikTok series, where I'll be discussing orangutan behavior in the wild, their social structures, and what this tells us about their cognition, problem-solving skills, and levels of curiosity. Orangutans are definitely one of the most curious of the great apes, and Amber definitely exemplifies this. Looking at their behavior and environment in a natural setting may hold some initial explanations for this. In the wild, orangutans are the most solitary of the great ape species. The young are raised entirely by their mother and stay attached at the hip to them, so to speak, until they're about 7 or 9 years old, which is when they're weaned. Then they remain pretty close to the mother until around age 10. And both females and males will come back to visit their mothers until around the age of 15. And females tend to stay close to their mothers even afterwards. Females usually reside near their mothers throughout the rest of their lives, in an area called the home range, referring to any area a group of animals can be found in most of the time, not implying any kind of territoriality with any other animals in different home ranges. Sometimes different groups' home ranges can overlap with each other. Adult males are the most solitary of the age and sex groups, and they spend most of their time alone except for mating opportunities. Fathers are absent when it comes to parental investment, with all of this work being done by the mothers, like I said before. Female orangutans are not territorial and often live together in groups, whereas adult males are known to become aggressive to other adult males when it comes to access to females. For unclear reasons, some adult males will develop these fat pads on the side of their face called flanges when they reach reproductive age, and others won't. It has been found that females prefer flanged males over unflanged males. This difference in body size and other physical traits between males and females is called sexual dimorphism and is found in other species like gorillas with body size. Also in gorillas, males will have large canines and females have relatively smaller canines. These fat pads aid in adult male reproductive success in allowing them to make a vocalization called a long call to signal to other females that they're available for mating, and also to ward off other adult males in the area, and this call can travel 2 miles through the forest. Male orangutans were also discovered to travel between open spaces in the forest on the ground. Dr. Galdikas was the first to make this discovery known. She's the founder and president of Orangutan Foundation International and also one of the pioneers in orangutan research. The largely independent and solitary lifestyle of orangutans can probably be explained best by their environment. Living in the forests of Borneo and Sumatra, orangutans are always under threat from predators like snakes and tigers. Living high up in the canopy helps protect them from these ground-dwelling predators, and it keeps them hidden between the branches and the leaves of the trees. Additionally, their primary food source of fruit is also located high in the trees, and explains their need for independent travel over longer distances because of its scarcity and patchiness as a food resource. Being solitary creatures in an environment where the primary food source is pretty patchy also helps prevent any kind of potential competition or violence that is often found in other species that live in groups. Every orangutan has their own specialized, personal, and shared knowledge about the locations and ripeness of their preferred fruit resources. And they're constantly on the move toward their next cluster of fruit, spending over 60% of their waking hours in pursuit of food. In terms of their cognition and sociality, fruit eating may explain the fact that orangutans have generally a pretty high cognitive capacity. The theory that explains this is called the instrumental hypothesis, and it predicts that more complex brains will be found in species that have more complex food foraging behaviors, which are typically found with sparse resources like fruit. Although this hypothesis does not hold true for a lot of primate species, orangutans have been known to assemble various complex tools for various purposes, implying a higher level of cognitive functioning. They have been seen using sticks as hooks to pull branches of fruit closer to them, and they've also been seen using fans of leaves to shelter themselves from rain. Tool use is generally defined as the use of a modified or specifically chosen object to achieve a specific purpose. Specific uses and different types of tools have been observed in different populations of orangutans, suggesting their capacity for culture and forethought, just like other great apes. In captivity, orangutans have been taught to use different types of tools and have been observed exhibiting even more human-like behaviors. After learning more about their sociality and habits in the wild, especially their dependence on their mothers for social learning throughout the first majority of their life, it makes sense why they're so capable of mimicking us and why they're often seen performing these human-like behaviors in captive settings. And it might also explain why they're so curious about what zoogoers have to present to them through the glass. The relationship young orangutans have with their mothers allows for a high degree of social learning, especially when food is plentiful. They learn through observation and imitation, which has proven to be a very effective means of adaptations given their environment and their lifestyle, and explains the passing on of learned cultural behaviors like tool use.
But because he's watched others use tools to solve similar problems in the past, he can now draw upon this knowledge to resolve his own dilemma by producing a stick tool that's just right for the job. And this knowledge is not just passed from one individual to another, but from one generation to the next.
A specific behavior that young orangutans perform is called peerings, and it's attributed to this.
So it's possible that the behavior is actually shown in his birth population, and he might have learned it from his mother or another orangutan.
When it comes to their levels of curiosity, something that amber is generally known for, this can also be explained by their age, traveling patterns, primary food source, and relationship with their mother or other orangutans later in life. After leaving their mothers to live by themselves, specifically male orangutans will have to learn to use the skills that they've observed from their mother on their own. It benefits them to have appropriate levels of curiosity in order to find new food sources and explore new areas. This type of curiosity has been found to have a strong correlation with social exposure during early development and infancy. With more opportunity for social learning early on, orangutans learn what is a good opportunity and what's a risky one. They do this by observing their mothers and other orangutans around them. In contrast, highly social great apes like gorillas and chimpanzees live in one male multi-female groups and multi-female multi-male groups respectively, creating less of a need for individual curiosity later in life and more of a dependence on shared risk-taking and social learning, specifically throughout their lives rather than just during infancy and early development. In addition, their food resources tend to be less patchy, with gorillas being sedentary leaf eaters or folivores and chimpanzees being omnivores, with both species often residing in much smaller areas or territories, which does imply some level of aggression and defensiveness and set boundaries, and also aggression towards trespassers relative to orangutans. These factors all play a part in a species or individual's level of curiosity and explorative tendencies throughout their lives. Studies have shown that higher levels of sociality and social learning do contribute to more complex problem-solving skills, with chimps and gorillas being more successful at complex tasks and tool use than orangutans. Additionally, orangutans, more often females, that are observed to be more social and have had more social influence early and throughout their lives, have seen to have higher levels of problem-solving capabilities. These findings support the cultural intelligence hypothesis, which predicts that increased social learning opportunities allows for increased cognition and problem-solving skills. Just like humans, orangutan's social environment plays a key role in exploratory tendencies and curiosity, and subsequently increased cognition and problem-solving skills, suggesting that we have this type of learning in common with us and orangutan's most recent common ancestor. Stay tuned for part 3, where I'll discuss even more about evolutionary implications of orangutan cognition and social behavior, including their capacity for language.